Hi everyone, welcome to the Cricket Report. We're back after some crazy games this weekend. Another upset, can you say as well today? Uh, a really good game between New Zealand and India, and then and then we have to talk about South Africa England game. But let's get started with another giant killing from Afghanistan. Afghanistan's playing some really good cricket in this tournament, and they've just taken down Pakistan. They're almost their rivals. The neighbors, um, the big cricketing nation, the big brother almost, and Afghanistan has come to age.
Yeah, Afghanistan really good. They've won their first meeting out of the eight meetings, so it's
Yeah,
7-1. It's always good to see uh, the so-called associates, which are no longer the associates. They're
that,
the real
that's the
deal.
score. That's the scoreline Pakistan wanted to make this World Cup as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, with the India one. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you can. So I think like they've taken us by a surprise, but what you have seen is the clear intent shown by Afghanistan. They're here to compete. They're not just here to make the numbers. What
exactly.
we've what we've really seen is how they all gelled as a unit. So that's what is the difference between Afghanistan and Pakistan. On the other hand, Pakistan have not played to their potential, or there's not enough intent there. So if you look, say, we'll touch upon the fielding at the start, like at the run chase. They're not in the game until 30, 35 overs, very labored fielding, and then you wake up when it's 15 overs left and the game's already gone.
Exactly. And this is almost what happens with Pakistan all the time, which is, I think, the reason why people always say that there's such a perennial team, Well, not a perennial team, actually, where sometimes they play well and sometimes they play bad, because it seems like sometimes they're just not in the game, and you really need to slap them up so that they come into the game. But today, it was just too late, Even in the batting innings, it was too late. Iftikhar had some fireworks, but up until that point, everybody was just taking it easy, playing way too slow. And uh, we talked about this against India, but again, Babar, like, okay, he scored a 50, but he's played the game so slowly, and he's misread, I think, the complete state of the game. Where even though, yeah, he's made over 50, I think he made 60 or 70 odd. It was just not a useful innings, because at the time where you needed set batters at the back end of the innings, Babur got himself out on a long hop.
If we look at Babar strike rate, it's about 80. If you
Yeah,
look at the World Cup and what's going on, if you look at some like high-flying teams like India and New Zealand, you'll see they're striking their top order is striking at about 100,
yeah,
110. So it
exactly.
makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
Then you can't build that platform, so that 280 could have been a 310. So those
easily.
30 runs make a huge difference psychologically.
Exactly.
Afghanistan chasing 300 is like a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Again, there's no intent, and also I would like to touch upon like the spinners of Afghanistan and the tactical change they had. They played four spinners, which is very much unseen in today's cricket. And
Hmm.
if you look at what they got in terms of the wickets, I think they got more than 6 to 8 wickets together, and they bowled 38 overs out of the 50.
Yeah.
Whereas you compare the Pakistani spinners, 16 overs between them, two spinners out of the 50. So you can just tell like
No
the
wicket.
difference, and no wickets in hand as well.
Yeah.
So I think they've missed a big trick. Chennai, you're playing in Chennai, you know what's going to happen, and I think Afghanistan have got it spot on here.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think Pakistan missed a trick, more from the fact that I don't think the Pakistan spinners are as skilled as the Afghani spinners.
Definitely,
They
yeah.
don't have the same amount of mystery, which maybe Mujib or Noor were providing, and they don't have the same amount of control as Rashid and Nabi provide. So, Shadab and Usman,
Usman,
they were bowling loose. They weren't bowling threatening deliveries. They would bowl maybe three or four good dot balls, but then give a wide half tracker. or a full toss. And for batsmen of the quality that Afghanistan have, playing international cricket, it's easy to put away a half tracker, you know. So I think there's a definite gap between the Pakistan spinners and the Afghani spinners. So I don't think Pakistan necessarily missed a trick, but I just don't think they had the quality available to them, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, and but I think at the same time, the Afghani batsmen didn't let any of the Pakistani bowlers settle. You know, Gurbaz and Ibrahim at the top of the order, they were really attacking any loose ball and anything wide was being put away for four. It wasn't being slapped to a fielder. It wasn't going for 2 runs. It was straight boundary. So I think that's the one thing that Afghanistan really did well, which was kind of any loose ball was going for boundary. They were just putting away everything very cleanly. And then not to mention, I mean, Pakistan's fielding was very
yeah,
sloppy. They were letting balls go through their feet. There were balls that were hitting their hand and going to the boundary. Like, the fielding must be so frustrating to watch if you're a Pakistani fan, because even if your bowlers bowl well, instead of being a single, that that ball is going for four, and suddenly your bowlers are under pressure. So I think Pakistan they need to wake up. Before I hand the baton back to you, I heard one statement from Imam Haq, and he said that, oh, we
the
don't.
dieting, the diet. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That too, but also he said that, oh, we don't hit sixes. Well, we don't hit sixes because of our diet,
carbs.
but
Yeah,
we which was really funny. But he also said, like, oh, our team strength is that we play slow in the power play, and I'm like, what? That makes no sense. You play slow and
they
then you
have to
get
move
out
on.
for 10 runs. So
Yeah, they have to move on with time.
yeah, exactly. Like, if you're gonna play slow, and actually a lot of teams have been playing slow in the power play. They only get 50 runs
But they
in the
catch
power
up.
play, but they have 50 runs for no wickets, whereas Pakistan has 50 runs for 3 wickets. So
Yeah,
it doesn't really equate at all.
yeah. I think contrastingly, if you look at Afghanistan and Gurbaz in the tournament he's lit it up. If you look at it, like he's he's been batting with the strike rates of 100, giving them good starts. You saw the England game.
Yeah,
He just breaks the back of like a chase or
yeah,
gets them that start which is required, and then
exactly.
it just allows like someone like a Rehmat Shah, who's a very calculated batter, he to
Yeah,
just bat through the innings. Exactly what he did today. He just picked
exactly.
out the singles and twos because the platform was laid at the top. A good
Yeah,
130 odd run partnership,
there's
and
almost
yeah,
going back from that. And that's the thing. I mean, I was just noticing as well when Afghanistan was batting. This is why, for example, a batsman like Rohit Sharma is considered so great. It's not because, like, he's not necessarily scoring huge runs in every match, but the thing is he's scoring 40 runs, but those 40 runs are coming
impacts.
off like 35 balls or 40
Yeah, the
balls. That,
impacts.
yeah, exactly. That means after 10 overs, you're off like to a flyer. You've scored 70. Your other batting partner can just relax and get into their innings. A player like Kohli can come in and just get into their innings. And that's exactly what Afghanistan did, because Gurbaz just went out and whacked everything. And Ibrahim stayed in, and he scored a good 87 and just relaxed. And he just set the foundation for the other two batsmen, um, numbers 3 and 4, to also come in and just take the singles and get set.
Yeah, I think look, touching up on that, there's about what 22 twos which were recorded today. So as a
Mhm.
stat, you can see that they're running pretty hard. They
Yeah,
run the first one hard, put the pressure on the Pakistani fielders, and then this is what you got to do in such situations in the middle overs. We've spoken about it. Some good old-fashioned cricket will get you there. And moving on to good for old-fashioned cricket, we'll move on to the India game and the way Kohli batted. You can see.
yeah,
What's your take on that?
exactly. I mean, it's Kohli. He's clinical. We were having a WhatsApp conversation while the game was going, and actually, I thought that once they dropped Mitchell, I thought India was down and out. But you said when Kohli's in, there's never a doubt. Though
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you out because you sent that text to me after India already won. So, um, but no, yeah, that's the thing, right? Kohli brings such stability, but he knows when to take the calculated risks. He can hit the boundary when it needs to be hit, but at the other point of time, he's running hard between the wickets, putting pressure on the fielders, and any slight mistake by the fielders, he's taking advantage. So, I mean, that's I think the beauty of Kohli. In my channel, I did one video where I was analyzing Kohli's innings and how he is as a player, and when he bats well, he takes more twos than anybody else. And like almost 40 or 50% of his runs comes off singles and doubles. And for a batsman of his quality who hits a lot of boundaries as well, that's a really important stat to think about because that means he's hitting the gaps all the time and running hard.
Yeah. I'll touch upon just because you've done Kohli. Will speaking about impact. What Rohit Sharma did at the start, like you could see he laid the foundation.
Yeah,
11 odd overs, they're about 70 odd. So
yeah,
again, if you're looking at it like 270 chase, 71 in 11, you're looking
yeah,
at 200 in the next 40 overs, five and over. He's just broken the back of the chase again, which
exactly.
allows like a Shubman Gill, a Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul to come, Kohli to settle in. So again,
Yeah,
it's the impact knocks which he has. He's been very selfless
yeah,
in this World Cup, if you have noticed.
exactly. Yeah, he's not afraid to take the risk, and that's one thing where I also had texted you. I think like I said, if they get through this opening spell, where there's still swing on the ball, where Henry can nip it around, where there might be problems, after that, it'll be easy batting. But right after I sent you that, Rohit Sharma ran down the track to Henry and whacked him for a huge six. And it's like that completely demoralized the bowler, because after that, Henry bowled one on the pads, he bowled a short and started going for runs. Whereas before that, he was bowling a nice channel. And that's the thing that Rohit Sharma brings any loose delivery, even slightly loose, in this World Cup. Rohit Sharma has been able to hit that ball for a big six or a boundary. And then the bowler is like scared because they know that any slight mistake and they're going to be put away. So I think that's one beauty of the impact that Rohit Sharma brings and how it really that's like one aspect of the Indian team and the Indian batting lineup that is making them so good in this World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. I'll also just touch up special mention to Shami in his game, in his first
Yeah,
game coming in, getting the FIFA. Like,
mm,
this is what we spoke about, like the value of an out and out right fast bowler or an
exactly.
out and out right bowler. You could see the impact he creates straight away.
Yeah,
That's five. You're sitting on the bench, you're cheering your colleagues on, you're 4 out of 4. You have to come in, you have to step up, and he does the job again. What do you think
exactly.
of that?
Yeah, I mean that obviously Shami has played a great impact and he has a lot of skill, and that's one benefit that the India team have that has a deep bench. But the other thing I wanted to mention, because we touched upon it before, which was that in Shami's interview he said that he's happy to stay on the bench as long as it's for the
No,
team,
the team is winning. Yeah.
and that mindset is what we talked about before, where the good teams, they're happy to not play as players or they're happy to not play in a particular game because they know that they're going to get their chance and that they're going to be brought into the team because their skills are needed, and that they
Yeah.
have to perform in the games where they're needed. So they stay happy, they stay focused, and I think that really played part into it because like Shami was brought into this game and you could see that Rohit Sharma went to him right away. Like he was the death bowler and he was given the responsibility, and I think Shami really delivered. Obviously, there's almost no one better than him, other than maybe the bowler on the other end, Bumrah, than bowling Yorkers. Getting reverse swing, and just being clinical in the death. India barely let any runs go by, and they kind of snuffed out that game in the death overs.
Yeah, I think they lost. I think New Zealand lost about 5 wickets for 50 odd. So you can
Yeah,
imagine that score again. We look at 274 being a 310, 320,
exactly.
and it's a complete different
Yeah,
ball game.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And considering that New Zealand took the risks in the middle over, to try to get Kuldeep out of the game, to nullify Jadeja, they couldn't take advantage of that at all. And I just want to tie in back. Daryl Mitchell scored a brilliant 100, but that was at a runner ball. And in our modern day game, the commentators were saying that that is too slow, and he didn't take advantage of the platform that he set for himself. So compare that with Babar, who's scoring like at a strike rate of
80,
80. That's
80. Yeah,
ridiculously slow. That's really poor. So, I mean, Rachin Ravindra, Daryl Mitchell, completely set up the game for New Zealand, and you know, unfortunately, their lower order didn't capitalize, but that still doesn't take anything away from both those batsmen who looked brilliant and potentially have shown a blueprint to other teams of how to tackle India spinners, which are kind of like their key contributors, you know?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Talking about spin, Henrik Klassen with a brilliant 100 South Africa to win,
Yeah.
get the win for South Africa. Reza Hendricks came in as well for Temba Bavuma. And all-round performance, South Africa looked very good against England. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, that game was just a South Africa demolition job, to be honest. England, again, brainless cricket, brainless decision making. The team was horrible. Selection was horrible. The toss decision was also horrible. Um, and just I don't know. They're just not in this World Cup. The squad selection was poor from the start. Bringing no spinners. Then this team against South Africa, they didn't play Moeen Ali. They haven't played Wokes. They haven't played Curran. You know, they've barely got any of their main bowlers in that they brought on this tour. They're playing all rounders like Willie, and they gave Gus Atkinson a debut, but South Africa was just able to take them apart, and Klaassen is just a different level. And again, it's the thinking cricketers that are doing well. In the middle
Yeah,
overs when Reza Hendricks got out, then Miller got out. South Africa was in a bit of a spot of bother, but
yeah,
Klaassen started, just taking the singles, letting Marco Janssen get set, and then they accelerated later on. So it's again like the thinking cricketers are the ones that are doing the damage in this World Cup, and England, who are playing like brainless, reckless cricket, have been completely outplayed in nearly every game they've played.
yeah. What like we spoke about, conditions is different. When you play in England, it's different. You can play that sort of baseball,
Yeah,
hi-fi cricket. When
yeah,
you play in India, you do require a bit of application. So
exactly.
it's pretty much the similar thing which we spoke about in the defeat to Afghanistan. They lack
Yeah,
application.
yeah,
Batters are awfully out of form. Bowlers
exactly.
are no better. There's
Yeah,
no one putting their hand up. Like you saw an Owen Morgan team looked so much different to a Joss Butler team. Maybe the captain brings the aura. You don't see Joss Butler, the captain. You see him, the batter, being the star. Same like you look at Babar. His captaincy is not that good, but probably
yeah,
his batting is good. So not
exactly.
all not all of the world's best players can be best good captains. So
Mhm.
I think they're lacking leadership. They're just lacking everything. They're lacking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, like, they just don't seem like they have a plan of how to cope with things that are thrown at them. Like Rashid seems like he's just bowling balls in the hope that maybe one will get a wicket. It doesn't seem like he has a plan setting up the batter. And then just speaking on application a little bit, it's almost counterintuitive because you would think that in more difficult conditions like England, a little bit of application helps. But actually,
Yeah.
in England, because it's so bowler friendly, no matter how much you apply yourself, sometimes there's just a ball that will get you out. Whereas in
Yeah.
India, where the ball is not doing as much, if you apply yourself, like you said, you can guarantee that you won't get out, but you can bat a long innings and score a lot of runs. So it's that counterintuitiveness that England seems to be thinking that, oh, because the wickets are so flat, we can just go hard. But actually, that's giving your wicket away when in fact you can just, take the singles and milk the bowling, go at 6 runs and over and hit the boundary, and that accelerates you.
Yeah, no, I think like well said. I don't think we have much to add on this game. At one stage, the score was looking like 84 for 7.
Yeah,
Mark Wood comes in and togs a few, and Gus Atkinson. So
exactly.
you can see
But
if you're asking those bowlers to be highest run getters, there's something
yeah,
seriously wrong.
yeah,
I
exactly.
personally I don't see them qualifying, but
No,
just because today Pakistan messed up, it
yeah,
just puts it's just has the doors wide open still.
yeah,
Looking we'll look at the points table, and right now you can see three teams which are probably clearing themselves away, which is obviously India and New Zealand and South Africa.
yeah.
The fourth spot is still available there.
Hmm.
Where do you see that going?
Yeah, well, considering how completely confused England look and how Pakistan is uh, just not waking up for this tournament, I think Australia is going to be the favorite to kind of sneak into that position. I think Australia, though they started the tournament off slow, they haven't really had any major upsets. They've lost games to the big teams, South Africa and India, but they still have a lot of games against other teams like England. They beat Pakistan. They still have games against Bangladesh and these teams where they'll win. They can still win those games. At the end of the day, if you think about it, Australia has beat the teams that they should have beat in Sri Lanka and
Yeah,
Pakistan, and they've lost to the informed teams like South Africa and India. So I think they still can win all of their remaining games, and it's not going to be much of a surprise, and they'll get into that position. But teams like
uh, uh,
England and Pakistan, they've dropped games to the small teams. They've both lost to Afghanistan now, so they could
and they both
easily,
have to play each other. They both
yeah,
have
and they
to
both
play
have
each
to
other.
play each
So
other. So one of them's going to lose another game. They still have to play teams like South Africa, New Zealand. England still has to play India, so they're bound to drop another 2 games, and that probably ends the tournament for them.
yeah,
Um,
I think Afghanistan is not
yeah,
a bad shout. The next fixture is Sri Lanka
yeah,
and Netherlands, so they
yeah.
can win those two. And then if they have that confidence of winning those two, they have Australia, and I think they finish up with another team. I
New
think New
Zealand
Zealand.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so they could reach
yeah,
that 8 point mark. It's very optimistic, but
yeah,
they're in with a shout with considering what they have in terms of fixtures.
exactly. So I agree that Afghanistan has that opportunity where they
Yeah,
should now, I think, beat Sri Lanka and they should beat Netherlands,
Netherlands. Yeah,
but it still would be considered an upset if they beat Australia.
yeah.
And definitely in this form, it would be a big upset if they beat New Zealand. So, you know,
Hmm.
considering that Australia still has games that maybe they should win more, like more
Yeah,
believably, that's why
Netherlands and
I'm putting them
Bangladesh.
as
Yeah,
favorites. But,
yeah,
Afghanistan is in there. And then, I mean, Sri Lanka, unfortunately, I don't think they're playing very good cricket to really beat any of the big teams. Their only win so far has come against Netherlands, and they don't look anywhere. And then Bangladesh, uh,
they're done. They're
I
done.
don't think they'll be. They look strong enough to beat any of the real big teams either. So I think Australia are probably the last fit. So India top of the table, New Zealand second, South Africa, and Australia.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the roundup, guys. Thank you very much for your time, Abby. We'll see you in the next one. We'll discuss further midweek games and then preview to the India-England big game, which could potentially knock England out of the World Cup.
Yeah,
Thank you,
definitely.
guys. See you. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. we'll be back in the next one. Thank you. Bye, Abby.
Perfect.